The judiciary of Sierra Leone is the branch of the government which interprets and applies the law to ensure impartial justice on the law and to provide a mechanism for dispute resolution. The independence of the judiciary is guaranteed by the 1991 Constitution. So this morning we're going to review the judiciary, what are their successes and challenges in the year 2022. And in the studio we have Elkas Sannoh, Director of Communications, Judiciary of Sierra Leone, and Thomas Pa Ali Babadi, civil society activist. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
You're welcome.
Sannoh, let me start off with you. 2022, what would you say has been the successes and challenges of the judiciary so far?
The successes have been overwhelming. Similarly, we have challenges we are still confronting head on, because when you talk about justice, the administration of justice everywhere in the world is very expensive. But before coming to the challenges so far, 2022, we have enjoyed celebrating those successes under the leadership of the current Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice Desmond Babatunde Edwards. And when he took over the judiciary was nothing to write home about. And for instance, a judiciary, like you stated, an arm of government, at that time can only boast of one university graduate. So the administrative governance of the judiciary was so problematic that everything was centralized in the hands of one person, who then was the master and the registrar. There was nothing like court operations. There was nothing like human resource person for an independent arm of government. The question that comes to mind is, if the judiciary and arm of government at that time don't have a human resource person, you ask, how were people recruited? So that's another answer. That's answer for another day. There was nothing like procurement person. It was only when the Honorable Chief Justice came, he said, when you talk about administration of justice, you don't just talk, yes, that's our constitutional mandate. Our foremost constitutional mandate is the administration of justice. But you cannot achieve that if the foundation is weak or you don't have no foundation. And the administrative governance of the judiciary is very quintessential to achieving whatever constitutional mandate that the judiciary should achieve. Now, you talk about the master and the registrar. At that time, everything was centralized. He was in charge of court operations. He was in charge of human resource. He was in charge of procurement, everything. Now, when the Honorable Chief Justice came, he said, no, that's not the way it works. He recruited to the Judicial and Legal Service Commission procurement person. We have now procurement person at the judiciary, human resource, court operations. And in those recruitment, the Honorable Chief Justice paid keen attention to women's empowerment. And today, if women are clamoring or have been clamoring for 30% quota, I think the judiciary should be emulated, because he paid more attention than any of those institutions in terms of creating the platform for women to come and serve. For instance, the master and registrar is a woman, a competent one at that position. We have the human resource person, is a woman. The court operations manager is a woman. the deputy master and registrar, the deputy master, who is in charge of the administrative head of fast track commercial court, is a woman. The court of appeal registrar is a woman. The DAR in charge of Ross Road is a woman. The senior court administrative registrar is a woman. So that means when you talk about women's empowerment, the Chief Justice, the current Chief Justice, should be commended. I think I cannot live here without Phebe and Swin, who is a strong advocate for women's empowerment, commending the Honorable Chief Justice for actually listening to their cry, for listening to what they have been clamoring for. That aside.
Kudos.
Thank you. And that aside, if you talk about access to justice was a problem, to an extent that Babadi seated here and others were on daily basis bashing the judiciary. Today, other surveys, research conducted, they asserted that the access to justice was below. In fact, even the Legal Link, Rashid Doumbouya's organization, I was here when he said, yes, we have moved from less than 30% to 70%. It's a pass mark. The Chief Justice should be commended for that when you talk about access to justice. Because over time, we have limited number of magistrates, limited number of judges. Today, I am proud to be part of an administration that has been able to transform the judiciary. That's why people are saying this is indeed a new judiciary. For the very first time in the history of Sierra Leone since independence, 27th April 1961, that we have been able to get magistrates recruited and deployed in every district. It has never happened. It's a novelty in this country. The current administration should be commended for that, especially the leadership provided by the current Chief Justice, His Lordship Justice Desmond Babatunde Edwards. Today, in places, remote places, such as Mungo, Falaba, very close to Guinea border, we have a sitting magistrate, resident magistrate. Apart from Mungo, we have places where they have never seen a lawyer, not alone a judge. We went as far as Kwendu for the very first time. Bonimbu, we went there, where we have magistrates sitting. We have, apart from magistrates being deployed in every district now. Today, we have judges deployed in places where there have been no sitting judge.
Elkas, with all the gains made this 2022 that you're highlighting now, what was the plan of the judiciary for the year 2022? And what's left undone?
I think it falls under our challenges. And we had wanted to deploy judges in every district. Every district, like we have magistrates deployed in every district now. In fact, some districts, we have 2 magistrates deployed there. Now, we have places like Kailan. Now, Kailan, we have a resident judge. Potloko, Moyamba, recently, Cambia.
Sorry,
I am coming.
Let's come back to the
I am coming to answer your question. That's what I am saying. That's what I am saying. I just wanted to lay the premise that those places, there have been no resident judge. So the Honorable Chief Justice desire has been to deploy resident judges in every district. We have not been able to achieve that.
In the early 2000s, now Justice Ganda, he was a magistrate, a resident magistrate in Kailan.
Not Kailan.
And magistrate...
not Kailan.
Who is also a lecturer at Phebe College, was also a magistrate in Kailan. When you say residency, what do you mean by residency?
Fine. Somebody who is there permanently. That is his own jurisdiction. It's not a situation wherein over time we had magistrates who were there can only go on circuit court. in places like Kailang, in places like Kwenadugu, Tonkolili, move from Freetown and go on circuit court, sit maybe for a week or two, then after completing those cases, then return to Freetown. But in this situation, it means they are there permanently. And that falls within their jurisdiction.
And before I bring Babadi in, has all these gains, we haven't spoken on the challenges, of course, I know there are a lot of challenges, but has all these, have all these gains you've highlighted translated into the actual output of the judiciary when it comes to verdict? Because I know that's where Babadi's concern is going to come from.
Exactly.
When you talk of administrative development now in the judiciary, having different people occupying different offices, giving boost to the administration of justice, has that reflected in the final judgment of the overall output of verdict from the judiciary of Sierra Leone?
To a very large extent, it falls under the challenges we are having. Let me state this. We have a population of almost 7 million, according to the last census. Our judges,
8 million.
Almost 8 million now. Okay, almost 8 million now. Judges, magistrates put together, we don't even have 100. The number. We have 34 magistrates providing service for Sierra Leoneans. Mark you, the magistrate court is a court of first instance. And if they are overwhelmed, 34 magistrates. Let me state this. In Tanzania, just Tanzania alone, when we went to Ghana, when they were giving us their statistics, the Chief Justice said in just Tanzania, they have over 600 magistrates in just Tanzania. Now, 34 magistrates in Sierra Leone. Let me state this. There was a management and functional survey that was conducted. And what was that result? It shows that one judicial officer, that is a magistrate or a judge, was providing service to over 143,000 Sierra Leoneans. 143,000 Sierra Leoneans. Can you imagine that? Just one judicial officer. With the recruitment and deployment of those magistrates in places where there have been no resident magistrate, when we have magistrates deployed in all districts and judges deployed in some of those places, the number decline. As it is, one judicial officer is providing service for 98,000 Sierra Leoneans, when the African ratio is around 22,000. Look at the gap. And the people don't even know the challenges our magistrates and judges are confronted with. Amidst those limited numbers, we have different, one judge, just one judge or magistrate, the workload or the caseload in just a month or two, they have over 500 cases before them. So you see, in fact, if people know the challenges they are confronted with, the kind of constraint they are working under those unfavorable conditions. Let me state this again.
Elkas, before you state that, in all of the developments, achievements and improvements in the judiciary, what the general public looks forward to is access to justice at the judiciary.
Yes.
And with all the challenges, how much time does each of the judges, magistrates spend in the courts presiding over matters?
Fine. The Constitution talks about 3 months. You understand? Now, I admit the fact that when you talk about speedy conclusion of those matters have been a huge challenge, or have been so challenging. Why?
Which is why often they say justice delayed is justice denied.
Now,
there are people who would tell you they've got cases in courts that run for years.
No,
what leads to the delay?
Now that's where I'm coming. Now let me state this. When a matter is before Magistrate A or Justice A, there are a lot of factors responsible for those delays, apart from the limited number of judges. One, the attitude of the lawyers. For instance, let me bring the APC case. They just concluded Alfred Peter Conte's case. 13 applications were made. 13 applications. And in each of those applications, the judge will have to rule. In each of those applications. And if in delivering his ruling, maybe the number of pages will be maybe less 25 pages. So in each of those matters, you ask for adjournment, and apart from the adjournment you are asking for, you make applications. Some of the applications, with all due respect, they are unnecessary. But because they are at liberty, because of the laws we have, or because of the rules.
So again, Elkas, that comes entirely on the citizens who table their cases to the courts. That's entirely on them, on how they feel about those cases and making the decision of whether or not to take it to the court. Yeah. But then, as a judiciary, with the amount of cases you have, how do you set the priority agenda to determine which cases to sit on immediately and which ones to set aside? How does that agenda, how do you set the agenda?
No, we don't have priority agenda. We don't have.
How do you determine what cases?
The reason why we don't have priority agenda is because every case that is before a judge is very important. No matter the magnitude of the offense, as long as that matter is before Judge A or Magistrate A, he prioritizes that particular matter until that matter.
I ask you because for the citizens, there are people who would tell you that they've been going to court since forever on an issue they've not had a verdict. And there are people who would tell you they've been going to court, but not too long, there is a verdict on their case already. So for people like that who would probably sit and compare notes, oh, I've been going to courts for a couple of years, no verdict. Another person would say, oh, well, I went there, in 6 months I got my verdict. Such people would want to know genuinely, how does the court determine what cases to sit on?
Okay, let me state this. Yes, I wholesomely agree with you before now that there were cases before even the appointment of the current Chief Justice. A case, somebody will tell you, and I know that's true, that case A has taken 3 years or 4 years. Some will even say 5 years. Some will even say almost to 10 years. There was a woman who works, I think in the Ministry of Lands. She went to my office virtually crying that matter has taken more than 7 years at the judiciary of Sierra Leone. 7 years. I said, no, that should not be the case. And let me tell you what the Honorable Chief Justice has put in, the mechanism he has put in place to ensuring that magistrates, judges are working in terms with the prescribed aspirations of the Honorable Chief Justice. What we have done now, all those the problems we are having is that I must say, even as much as I speak on behalf of the judiciary, these are problems we inherited. Mark you, over time, even the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report did not spare the judiciary. They had to bash the judiciary and blame the judiciary. Let me say this,
Elkas,
please.
sorry, I'm so sorry I'm rushing you because I'm also mindful of the time we have left to round this up.
Okay, let me...
You've still not answered me how the priority is set. Is it the Chief Justice that determines what cases to sit on a daily basis, or is it by the date that the case... How?
Okay, let me state this. Now, what have we done to address those challenges?
Because, no, that's not the question. My question is, how is it determined the cases to sit on?
We don't prioritize cases. We don't prioritize.
So, so they just go to court and bring these files, let's sit on these?
No, that's not it.
So how is the decision made?
So can you please allow me? Because
please just speak to that directly.
Yes,
I'm trying to make sure we use the time
I am trying to also inform and educate those who are listening. If you give me time, it will be okay, fine.
So the question,
yes. Now, like I stated, when they filed from the registry to the Honorable Chief Justice Office, the Chief Justice assigns to Judge A, Judge B, and Judge C. We expect that judge to speedily complete that matter. Now, what have we done to making sure that we achieve this? Immediately the matter has been assigned to Judge A, Judge B. If you go now to our website, because we actually need to monitor and track the work of our magistrate, our judges. They are being monitored. How the Honorable Chief Justice is doing that now. When he assigns a matter, we automatically upload that to our website with the CS number, the case number. You understand? If you go to our website, those cases that have been assigned to the Honorable Chief Justice are there. And every month, we expect returns. Those monthly returns are there to be able to monitor Judge A or Judge B so that we'll be able to look at the challenges in what is the problem for delay, the reason for long adjournment, and how do we make sure we devise a prompt mechanism to address those challenges. All this you are talking about now, these are things that were happening before, but we've been able now to address them. I must tell you now that there are, since the ascendancy of the Honorable Chief Justice to that position, since 2018 December to date, we have not had a situation wherein a matter has been assigned to Judge A or Judge B and has taken that long. It has never happened.
Elkas, continue to stay with us. Babadi, I know
Babadi has been listening for a very long time now.
He's a good listener. Yes. Babadi, in summary, how do you rate the performance of the judiciary in the year 2022 exclusively?
You see,
considering his submission and his gains, he highlights.
Yeah, because the judiciary is very important.
But again, I just think the frank discussion happening. We've seen what is happening within the judiciary. I belong to WhatsApp forum. We have what's called judiciary communications or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of things are happening between the judiciary. They're doing very well. But again, I want to say this again, just to add to what he's saying: access to justice.
Yes.
It never started during the era of Babatunde Edwards, Chief Justice. It started under Justice Timbo during the era of Pakaba, when the Chinese people came out and bashed at the judiciary. Chapter 3, it talks about the judiciary, the police, especially the OSD. You call them SSD at the time. They do not have any modus operandi they adhere to. They can just go at random and kill. Nobody will arrest them. The law protect them. So the Chinese report recommends that they remove that arm from the police. The judiciary, they said, because they were aiding and abetting everything, giving bad judgment and no access to justice, people took upon themselves, went to the bush and came to town. We had 10 years of uninterrupted rebel war. And so there had been access since that time. DFID forms the judiciary since that time till date to grant access. We have courts. Of course, you agree with me that we do not have enough courts even in Freetown. Courts are sent, cases are sent to Padamoro courts. Lumbi don't have a court. Lumbi is growing like Eastern Police. like a CBD. You know, we need a court there to reduce the number. If you go to another court, you have people going there from Monday to Friday. The cases have not been heard because you have very small courts, court number 7, court number 6, where they have these IG files, you have children's file, sexual gentlemen. So a lot of challenges within the judiciary. You know, we need more courts. Secondly, we need more magistrates. You know, Justice Finn, my then a lawyer, addressed us in 2011 at Kimmy Hotel, spoke about the challenges within the judiciary. How many judges do we have? A problem that they identified. Gradually it's happening, it's going on. But what is happening now is that the way judges that we have administer judgment is the problem. That's why I want to anchor.
And how's that a problem?
Now let me come again. Section 120 in the Constitution established the judiciary. 73 established the Parliament. 40 established the executive. The Parliament is supposed to vet the judiciary. State House is elected. President, Vice President. You have the Parliament. We elect them to go. The Speaker is elected by members of Parliament. The judiciary, nobody elects them. That is an advantage that we have. That they are supposed to be independent. The JLSC, nominate them. Send them to the President. The President, of course, with his pen, send them to Parliament. They are nominated. I listened to Dr. Abla Conte, one of the finest black jurists in the world. Dr. Eo Conte. Yeah? He was talking about the judiciary, giving comment. He said, every other profession, you have people who give the profession a bad rap. That was a word that he used continuously. So now, we have judges identified, pinned to render judgment against specific individuals. We are calling out to judges, please. We are the ones that are paying you from a CIF. Don't compromise. If you keep compromising, you're going to provoke another war, be it civil west or whatever, like it happened in 1991. Now, you have cases. For example, I will not go to the political party cases, like the Palo Conte case. That case, we have what is called ironclad cases. I work a bit with the special court, and I was sent as an intern in The Hague. I went there to witness Chancellor's trial in 2008. I saw how they were trying Slobodan Milosevic in The Hague, 2008. But then I was just a new man in civil society, very young, relation in my youth. And I see the way judgments were given, how lawyers argue the law. Coming to Sierra Leone in a municipal jurisdiction, you see the way how cases have been handled. The Palo Conte case, that was a case. I looked at the 1963 Treason Trial Act, and I look at the treason report of 87. Juxtapose those two ideas. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an accountant. I get accounting, but because of as an advocate, I just have to read. You see these things, and the office of the administrator or whatever, the how you call it, AG's office, proffered that Palo committed treason. One person, one pistol committed treason. That case took how many months? And it's attracted Amnesty International from the UK to come to Sierra Leone. Treason has never happened in the last 20 years. What is happening? That matter was not given fair judgment. The man was not guilty of offense. The man was never a recidivist to have been given 12 months in prison. So these are things. You coming out to other judgments. The 10 opposition MPs who were removed from Parliament. That judgment, I'm afraid, in the next 5 or 10 years, the opposition comes in. They will use that and they will say, that was judgment. We will perfect this judgment. When it is perfected, we'll have one party state. I'm afraid. If that judgment is perfected in the future, post SVP, which will happen, SVP will not continue to stay there forever. They will use the same judges in the same judiciary to say, look at what happened. They will cut the precedents. 5-10 years ago, it happened. So these 40 or 50 MPs belonging to the opposition, SVP now, we only need 10 of them to sit. 30, go. Back, AP takes over the entire Parliament. We are afraid. People have secured tenure in office. They only sat in Parliament for 12 months. They seated and they voted. Sitting members of Parliament relieved of their duty. No appeal case was heard till date. It's almost 5 years now. 60 months. No application had. What happened? What is wrong with the appeal process? I'm not a lawyer. Tell me what was wrong. If APC can post SVP, be it NGC, they will use similar things to justify that. Now, you have other cases I don't want to budge into. But you have this case that these are the problems that the judiciary seem to be having. But in terms of access, and I'm seeing the way they are handling the judiciary. There you go, you are checked, you go. A lot of things are happening. Administratively, they are very, very good. Perfect. Kudos to the Chief Justice. But in terms of administering justice, how you get a judgment, that part of matter. You look at the ranking now in West Africa. There are 17 countries in West Africa. Where is Sierra Leone judiciary? Check. Secondly, come to Africa. South African judiciary are the best.
Babadi, quickly, assessing the judiciary in Sierra Leone in 2022, Elkas has highlighted some of the gains and challenges with the number of magistrates, the number of judges that are available, and of course the workload on those judges is what we are seeing, why we are seeing the slow output. But quickly, on a scale from 0 to 100% in 2022, with all what Elkas has highlighted, with all what you have highlighted since this Honorable Justice Babatunde Edwards took over office, but in 2022, how would you rate the percentage of the judiciary from 0 to 100?
Administratively, they've doubled. They've doubled administratively. The administration of judiciary at the moment, my brother, is considerably increasing. Say above 60% or 70%. But in terms of dispersing justice, they are below 10%. Secondly, I don't want to say this again. We want to advise. Now, if you have a case in front of a judge at the High Court, people are afraid. But there are specific judges. When you call their name, people go and sleep. Same case at the Minam. It doesn't matter. Me now with the advantage. So people are afraid to take cases to judges because they know I'm wrong. If I go there, this judge will give me wrong. I don't want to call those names. There are almost 7 or 8 judges. 7 or 8 judges. One of them is Justice Regina Finn. Number 2 is James Tina King. Bintu Aladi. And this justice right, I don't know. You know, you have them. 6, 7, 8. I'm talking about not Supreme Court. I've got judges who are credible. They know if they are called from any quarter, they will tell you, Mr. A, you are this. Send a lawyer. I want a politician. But the other judges,
all right, quickly, Elkas.
People are afraid.
How would you rate the judiciary from 0 to 100% in 2022? You've been given 60 for administrative.
60, 70.
It's
above 60. So means 70.
And 20 or so for the dispensation of justice.
It means, over time, I could remember, I was here with Babadi. He rated us below 40% in everything. So if today he has given us 70 or so
on administration,
yes, on administration, it means we must take it in good spirit. It means the judiciary, we have a listening administration, and I assure him that we are not there yet. But let me state this before I conclude with all due respect. Now, justice everywhere is very, 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 very expensive. The Africa ratio, one judicial officer to Africans is 22,000. Africa ratio, 22,000. One judicial officer providing service to 22,000 Africans. In Sierra Leone, it is 98,000. Look at the gap. For Christ's sake. Then let's leave that.
No, I'm afraid we do not have
no,
we do
please,
not have
let me
time.
Stay
I'm also
please,
with you,
please, let me conclude.
I would have loved you to conclude, but I'm afraid we do not have enough time.
How do you expect our judges to work in an environment? We have 34 magistrates. We have 34 magistrates. None of them can boast of official vehicles. Our judges, we have judges, they don't have vehicles. How do you expect them to?
Elkas, and now, of course, to you, some of my apologies, absolutely. We do not have enough time. We're also running on DSTV, but apologies. Definitely, we shall have you in our subsequent program.